Okay, Chaver, so we're in the middle of learning opening packages. We ended basically with the two Tanayim that Rishon Zalman said you always have to be mindful of when opening a package. And that is, number one, you want to rip derech kilkol, and number two, you want to not rip through letters or pictures. Two Tanayim on page 119. Now, to just quickly, the footnotes over here are Gansa Shir Klolis, Mamish, Sugyas, and Stiras, between all the different malachis. But in Ois Mem Tes, he deals with the malach of Kaireya, and he says, Ulfi Dvar of L'Shayach Kaireya. When is there Nisr Kaireya? Because, anyone who's following along has been hearing that Rav Zalman has basically been able to do everything, open anything, and rip and tear and destroy, and the unassuming mind wonders, so what's Isser Kareya? When is it ever Usser? So says the Heilige Rebbe, Elisha Kaireyang is a davar be'emsa v'tzarech l'tikin shneim. What is Kaireyang? We're on page 119. We're in footnote Memtas, which is 49. We're approximately 8 lines down. The first one line is Ella. When you rip something and you need the betterment of both of them. Aval, which, by the way, if you're listening careful, that's called toilet paper. And that's why ripping on the perforated ends is a problem, because you're ripping it and you need the betterment of both of them. You need the roll to stay where it is, and you need the piece to stay where it is. Aval, if you don't need to take in both of them, definitely not going to be chayiv. Will it be a derabanan? It will depend now if it's kilkul. The devar of gam ba'asim shenmem demafish in the years he dvuka biyachad gam kitzach lam dav kishavadi yitzach tikin shnei. Avlim kaireya derek kilkul vehulit seirech Shabbos mutter. Now I will, because you're not using the item. That's what a kilkul is. Kilkul is either if I rip something to use the item, that's called tikkun. If I rip, I'm not using an item. When I'm opening up my tissue box, can you please pass my tissue box demonstration? That was toilet paper. You're using the toilet paper. That's called a tikkun. It's a problem. No, not a line. Still not mutter. Still a tikkun at some level. You're still using the item. Just it won't be the same level. But over here, for example, here you're ripping open items. Derek Kilkel is certainly known in the world as going to say this is normal or a tikkun. L'tzorech Shabbos, not l'tzorech eichel nefesh. L'tzorech Shabbos. Shem Zalman is willing to be made. I will point out this is a very, very big chiddush. The Mishnah Berurah, the Pashtus, argues on this. There's a Bir Halacha somewhere that throws out that Kilkol, L'tzorech Shabbos, Makom Seirech, he needs like the whole world to be makel. Shem Zalman clearly is a lot more forgiving. Just to say, I just mentioned Eichel Nefesh. So if you go look at Ha'ara Nun, which is where he's talking about ripping letters, he says in the second line, Shamati v'Shem Zalman Av Shem Achiki b'Chayam No Tolem Mishachas Ba'am Nas Lechtoif. Why, even though Mechika in such a scenario that you're not going to write Umekalkel Gomerhu. So frak the Rebbe, why is there a problem? Who cares that you're ripping letters? V'lo Yechamer Yoser Mekayreya. Mechika, erasing, should be more chamer than ripping. Interesting here, he throws in eichel nefesh. A moment ago, he was mekel l'tzarech Shabbos. Either way, he says that we're mekel l'tzarech eichel nefesh. Ach, mekivan she'aser afilu tiltal muksa to kill b'chdei leftei chavis. We're even mekel on muksa. V'rak seisif v'kareya shu kein shviras agro sim shenidal. Kam lachas kareya ino nehegis b'hem. Ashe in kein moichei shalom and aslechtov. Avagav dino is there abanan. He's saying a fascinating lumdus in the malacha of meichik. And he's saying meichik by its very essence is erasing. And therefore, even if you're erasing within all the gedarim that are mutter in Kaireya and are mutter everywhere else, but in the world of meichik, it still has a shame of meichik, and therefore it should be avoided. He continues and he says, Ulam Sarachia and Shemiras Shabbos move it to Shemen. Hetulachel Uga Shishla Oisio is very famous. Maybe that'll actually be the next malacha, which, as we all know, when you have a birthday cake with letters, there's different levels. And then you all know the lotus crackers where the letters are engraved in. And then you have the letters on top. But the Marash Halevi famously brought in Shartzian says that one is allowed to eat the cookie that has the letters on it. Ayin Sham Shabein Taime Hadru Kaise Mishum Shezed Daim L'Shever Chavis like on Dvarav Ayin Halon. So he's basically asking Akasha, why don't you have the same heter of Eichel Nefesh of eating the cookie as opening the package? But Lamaisa Rosh Zalman is telling us to avoid it. Now, in the next foot, Aron and Aleph, he discusses what about ripping between letters, which, you have a packaging and, sometimes the only way to do it is you're going to very strategically go between letters. Is that going to be a problem? And he says, he wants to bring a right that it should be ulcer. You're breaking up a word. Exactly. That's the shayla. Why is it not mechika that you're breaking up a word? He says, Ulam Shamat Misham Zamanim in the third line of Aron and Aleph, to Ein Lachash, meaning Ein Lachash that you could cut between letters, not in the letter. Between the letters within the word. Dein Lachash, the Davka L'Idin Mechikis Hashem, that was his old kasha. When you read Hashem's name, that's where we find that all the letters combine to one entity called the name of Hashem. And therefore, if you separate between them, you're being mavatal at siruf, whereas if you're just separating between the letters, Shlomo Zalman is more willing to be mekel. And these are big sugyas, and we're going to leave it with that. We're going to move on to Yudalit over here. Shlomo Zalman is only mekel to open something if you do not rip the words nor rip the. He didn't say try. He said loy yikra oisios oitzirim. You're not allowed to rip it. You want to know if you do it, it's not mutter. You want to know if you do it, what was it? It was a derabanan by kilkol begader misasik or begader ina miskavin. Chayr sam mutter. Are there mekilim? There are other mekilim. The Graz famously is much more forgiving on letters, but it's really a different sugya. Over here, he just brings it in parenthetically. He quotes the famous case of opening a sefer with words on the side, but let's move on. In Sifya Dalit over here, he does an interesting case. It took me a while actually to wrap, you'll see the bad pun in a moment, my head around this case, but I think maybe I understand it. Asr lelafef, what's a lafa? It's a wrap. Lelafef means to wrap. Asr lelafef chut barzel. So it's chut is a string, barzel of iron, so you have some sort of thick string, a seret plastic, or a strip of plastic, bishuli asakit. You're wrapping the edge of a bag with either an iron shtickle or a plastic shtickle. What is this? That's it's not a twist tie though. It's not a twist tie. You think that's what you mean? Okay, I had a different. I thought they make these bags that have like like the old school garbage bags that they have like a string on top to wrap them up. Because you're going to see what he's about to talk about. Look what he says. Because I don't think it's a twist tie. I think twist tie is different words. Chut barzel is twist tie in this thing? I don't think so. I'm not arguing how to make a twist tie, sir. I'm arguing what the word means. Let's see. Maybe it could be chut barzel is a wire. Yeah, twist tie is a different word. Twist tie are called zarakonim. Zarakonim, I believe, is a twist tie in Ivrit. No one has any clue what I'm talking about? Zarakonim. Did I have the wrong word? Zerikot is injection. No, close. So only Kabbalah Zerika. You wanna shot? Yeah, it's only come to a side, please. Okay, let's continue. But let's see what he says. You're also not allowed to open up such a thing. It's not a twist tie. You're gonna see it in a second. No, twist tie is a huge fight, Grad, though. What the story with twist ties are. But what's twist tie? Please. Oh, you're right. You're 100% right. I had never heard this. This is not modern Hebrew, but that's what he calls it. Chut melufaf is a wire twist tie. Fascinating. What's a twist tie in Ivrit? No. Oh, I'm talking about the plastic guys. The plastic guys. It clicks in. No. That's what I'm talking about also. No, but Zarkonim are, the plastic guys that you build houses with in Eretz Yisrael? Yeah, my whole car was held together. Zip ties. Okay, good. Baruch Hashem. Today's Hebrew class has been sponsored to you by Machal. Let's move on. Okay, twist ties. Very good. So let's go back. He's being machmir Chut barzel, very good. Or chut plastic, very good. Or chut melufaf. It's funny that chut barzel, he writes in the back as a wire, but chut melufaf, he writes that a twist tie. They should fix the glossary a little bit. Anyways, shekazah. Ulechein. Let's continue. Sakit asagura b'chut shekazah. Toiv b'yoytzel l'shadel l'shachar sakit. To shachar sakit. That's a great word. To free the bread. Free the bag. L'shachar sakit. B'li lahatir. Without opening oilen atikis achot. Or without ripping the chut. Mutter to do what? Either lahatir as a leaf off, to open it up, to cut it. Filu bisakin, a knife, and misparayim, or scissors. Vishinati derech kil kula, you should destroy it. Halacha number 1. So you see, number 1, he says being machmar. This is the famous story with Rav Elyashiv, when someone brought him a twist tie, and he asked him, you let use it on Shabbos. And one person, I think he said mutter, one person said it's also, one person said it's a deraisa, and all that to do with how many twists you did. Rav Elyashiv had a chiddush that I think 3 twists or 2 twists. He called it shekel kiyama, and we're not going to go into this right now. But in the footnotes over here, we're very, very busy in the world of kaisher, which is a very fascinating malacha. If you look at ha'ara, no, let's get there in a moment. Let's first finish reading up top. He said it's aser, and he said it's aser to open it. He said if it was closed with it, it's better l'shtadel l'shachar sakit b'li lahatir, without opening up this twist side. But if it's impossible, you're allowed to. He continues. Let's say you only put it on for a very short amount of time. For 7 days. You slice bread and it has one of those things on top of it, or you have all those cases that you open and close it. Then it's not a problem. So what was usher? What it was usher was when you have these things that you put it on and it stays there. And it stays there. Then it's usher. But if it's there, he says, for a day or less than 7 b'diavad, then you're allowed to open it and close it. Never seen such a thing in my life. Oh, that means that if you're using it, let's say you're not using the no, he says the norm. The norm is to use within 1 day. B'diavad is for 7 days. And therefore he says a bread, that now if in your house you eat bread 1 every 6 weeks, it would be a problem. So when you're closing it, you're closing it for the next 6 weeks. No. I disagree with what you're saying. He's saying haderech im haderech l'lafeva chuta barzel. It's the same type of twist tie. It's not a different twist tie. It's talking about what is the derech. If the derech is to use it for a day or 7, kimoi, like people that eat bread, or some Zalman didn't eat once every 2 months. They ate daily bread. So he's saying, like eating bread, which is going to be opened all the time, then you're allowed to use it. But avada, if you know that you have this one interessanta dish in your fridge and you open it up and it stays there in the freezer, stays there forever, then it would be a problem. What do you say? 2 different cases. What's the confusion? Case number 1 was a twist tie that stays there forever. He's saying it's the problem. Case number 2 was a twist tie that you use for a day or less than 7 b'diavad. Then he's willing to be makel. Yeah, what's I was saying? I want to get to Nechasa 1 second. Just let's read the end of this. Bakbuke mashke, which I don't know what this is, that the cover is a chut barzel. I've never seen such a thing in my life. The wire guy. I don't know. Okay, I don't know. He says better to open it for Shabbos than to close it loosely. So first of all, one thing very important. Everything we're talking about here is mutar b'makom atzeirech, to open up and to cut through. Now, if we look at ha'ara nunches, he says to look at ha'ara samachalef. That was great. So if we look at ha'ara samachalef, we have to look at sif tezvav. So let's look at sif tezvav. It's getting late. Sif tezvav. We have a bag or a package. What do you say? In nun. In nun zayin, he told you like it's samachalef. All my letters are confused. In Nulches, I apologize. In Nulches, he says, we're talking about kosher, and when we get to kosher, we're going to have to see what's going on.
That's why it's not, you could do it, the bread twist tie, you could do it no matter what, even if you get a produce.
I completely violently disagree with everything that you just said. Absolutely not.
it doesn't mean that this twist tie is now mutter because it came out of loaf bread.
It's the same rules.
If
If it is, that's what you're saying. Very good. Yes, now I completely agree with you. Let's look at Tezvav. We're going to go 1 minute over. I apologize. We have a bag or a packaging that has a chut around it. Or food that it's packaged with paper, and it's wrapped up with a string. There's no way to take it off that. This is like a cake box string. Mutter latira, you allowed to open it up. Then yash latira, mutter lanatik is chod, you allowed to cut it off from sakin, but do it derech kilkel. So number one, there's some Zalman is saying number one is to untie it, number two is to cut it. So if we look over here in Samach is where he really gets involved in the Gedarim of Ksharim for a moment, Kesher. He says, V'avte kesher eno im eliyos mutter babiyoim, ayin sivin chinyazayim. B'chol she'asal atirai, kam asal enatkai. Anytime you're not allowed to untie it, you're not allowed to cut it. Ayin mishnah berurah. Mikomot chazina min habayit she'atir mi ikra adin lahafred zu mizu zog na'alayim haduvakos atvaron yachad. There's a pair of shoes that is connected. That pair of shoes, you're allowed to cut through that string on the pair of shoes. Even though, he continues, after when you buy a pair of shoes that's connected with a string, it clearly was not meant to be open that day. It's been sitting in the store for 6 months. But he says, after the parentheses, when is it tied until? It's tied until you buy it. You can't use the shoes that way. As far as Alvosh, that's the famous Alvosh Svara and the world of Kaisher, and that's the reason why he's willing to be makel. What type of knot is aser? If you tie it and then you untie it and you retie it, then he's more willing to be makel. And that's the reason why on a lot of these things, it's going to be more forgiving. It's better if you just destroy it. So we end with basically the following. If you destroy everything, it's always better, which is going into our old cloud. And it comes to wrapping and unwrapping these things, I guess what we can really take out of today is that it's a massive shiloh. Shalom Zalman, who we started off today saying everything is mutter, he's busy telling us that the twist ties are big shilohs. If it's going to be for a day or so, then Lamaisa, we'll call it, then it's mutter. If not, then it's better to cut through it. He doesn't say this, but I would think it's better to rip open the package. Let's say you have bread, and in your house and it's with one of those twist ties, and in your house you don't necessarily use the bread weekly. So that means by opening that, you're opening a knot that was there for a long time. L'chayra, what's the best thing to do is to cut open the cut. Oh, if you can cut it off, okay, good. And let's say you can't, cut up the plastic. Just leave the twist tie there. Cut the plastic of the bread, rip open the whole thing, take out the bread. Okay, you lost the package. Okay, no. I mean, I would have liked him to say that, but I don't know. I don't see him saying that. But that's the halacha of twist ties.